Genesis, the 33rd chapter, and reading from the King James Version, it says, "And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the two handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. And he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept." I want to preach from a subject this morning, repairing what was broken. You may be seated. You know, I thought Pastor Kevin liked me. He don't like me. Last Sunday, he threw me up here to preach on singles. By the grace of God. Then this topic came across the email. Sibling rivalry. Which I think I would rather put it in context of family drama. Because I think that's more of a general description of it. Also, too, when you hear this message, you definitely can think about your own family, but you can also think about your church family. Because there are sometimes some butting of the heads in our own church family. And so we're Christian. That don't mean we're not human. Doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a real person. But as we grow and hopefully mature, we learn how to handle disagreements and things like that better. And so I'm excited to share the word with you this morning. When you think of the word repair, it means to restore to a good condition, right? To repair. And, you know, as I've gotten older, repair is a bad word. I realize now that I've gotten older what people who got money, I realize what they really do. They repair things right away. People got money, just no problem. We call the people repair. But for those of us, you be like, what need to be fixed? How long can we go before we actually... I mean, do I got a couple months? This need to be fixed, repaired, you know, and then these little folks want to grow up so fast. Listen, y'all, this is ghetto. Adulthood is ghetto. Take your time. You got an in-house landlord, an in-house maintenance person. They put food in the refrigerator. Don't rush to get here. Don't rush. I'm just joking, y'all. I'm just joking. But you ain't grown until it's your responsibility to repair some stuff. And just like our houses or our cars, relationships don't repair themselves. It takes some adults to do the right work to restore something that was once together back to a good condition. It takes some real talk, right? And I don't care how much Jesus you have. I don't care how amazing you think you are. No one is exempt, or no one escapes the pain of conflicting relationships. Somewhere along the line, you're going to ruffle somebody's feathers and somebody going to ruffle yours. And we're going to find out how much Jesus you really have. Or we're going to find out how much gangster you really got. It's one or the other. We're about to be exposed. The truth's about to come out. Someone may have said some hurtful things. Someone may have overlooked you. Someone may have felt you were wrong in what you said. You may have been misunderstood. There could have been an argument over money, a disagreement over something that needed to be done, but conflicts happen, right? And when those conflicts happen, chemistry is broken. Relationships are broken. Unity is broken. Trust is broken. And we can go years without speaking to somebody who carries the same bloodline. There's some things I can't even address up here because I am not qualified to unpack it, and I wouldn't do that to you, but you may need to see a therapist or a counselor because of some of the things you have been through. And I'm going to tell you, go and do what you got to do so that you can heal and live. And when we look at this story of Jacob and Esau, we see a relationship that needed to be repaired. We see a relationship that was broken. Just to give you a little background context, in the 25th chapter of Genesis, Esau is supposedly weary unto death as he was out trying to catch some game and do some hunting. He didn't catch anything, and so he came and asked Jacob. He said, hey, I'll give you this, if you give me this game, I'll give you my birthright. And so he sells his birthright to Jacob for some food, for a meal. Now, why is this crazy? Because in the ancient world, the firstborn son received a double portion of the family inheritance. And it was through this inheritance that he was to carry on the family legacy. And that goes to the firstborn. But he gives, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know how long he went without water. I don't know if he lost his mind, but he gives up his birthright for a meal. I can only imagine the conversation that his father probably had with him. What you thinking? You crazy? Go on a little further, and Rebekah hears, the mother of Jacob, Rebekah hears that Isaac is about to bless. He's ready to bless. But he's near death. His eyes are blind. He can't see, but he can hear. So Rebekah says, just to show you, I know Jacob kind of gets the bad rap in this story, but it ain't all his fault. Sometimes parents mess up too. And she tells Jacob what to do to trick Isaac to bless him, making him think that Jacob is Esau, because Esau had hairy arms. So she said, go put some hair on your arms and hair on your face so that he thinks it's you. And Jacob stole. Now, this is something different. He gave up his birthright for a meal. But here, Jacob steals his parental blessing. He steals the blessing. And I just want to read real quick, just so y'all can get in context of how dirty Jacob was. First of all, if I can back up real quick, if my brother came to me and wanted to give up his birthright, I'd be like, nah, bro, give me a spear or something, but don't give me your birthright. Jacob took it anyway. He was dirty. He was like, yeah, man, here you go, a little seasoning on there for you. But if you look in Genesis, the 27th chapter, the 28th and the 29th verse, this is what Jacob stole from Esau. He says, therefore, God, give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness. Now, this is Isaac praying over Jacob, which was supposed to have been over Esau. He says, therefore, God, give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren. Remember that. He said, be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curses thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Jacob steals this from Esau. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, well, just Esau, do another blessing. Bless again. This all you got is one. But he could only bless one time. So Esau says, I'm going to kill Jacob. I feel him on that. You done took my inheritance and my blessing. So Esau had a reason to be mad. He had a reason to be upset. And so Jacob, he had to be black because he knew his life was about to be over. He runs. Ain't that what we do? We run. He runs and he goes and lives with his uncle Laban. And he ends up marrying two of his daughters, Rachel and Leah. For 20 years, he doesn't see Esau. And the Lord tells him, it's time for you to go back to your homeland. And so here he realizes he's got to go back to his homeland. And in the 33rd chapter, Jacob and Esau are meeting for the first time in 20 years. Let's read that again. Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the two maids. And he put the handmaids and the children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. Now, I know that sounds a little wordy, but let me explain what's happening. He's dividing up the people. He's putting the handmaids first. He's putting Leah and her children next. And he's putting Rachel and her children last. Why? He thinks Esau is still going to kill him. So he says, if you attack the handmaids first, then Leah and Rachel and the kids can leave. If you attack Leah and them, then Rachel will leave. Why? Because Rachel was his favorite. Rachel was fine. Rachel was fine. He was like, girl, stay right there. I got to at least have one. If it's one, I want you. A man protects what he loves. Come on now. And so it says here, and he passed, verse 3, and he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. I wish that the Bible said more about Esau's mental processing. Because in verse 3, we see Jacob bowing 7 times. That's just showing respect and honor to somebody that is esteemed. Right? So he's bowing 7 times. In my mind, that's his apology. Esau running and kissing his neck, that's him accepting his apology. But we really don't know what transpired or what was said, right? But we can pull from Esau and we can pull from Jacob. And so in pulling from Esau, the first point, and I know it's probably going to be a little bit challenging for some to hear, but I got to talk to the believers of the families. And so if you know Christ, this is for us. If you've accepted him as your Savior, this is for us. It is our duty to reconcile. I know. You hear that clap? Had 2 right there, maybe 1 over here. They was like, yeah, okay, Pastor, yeah, all right. You don't know my family. But reconciliation is the idea of 2 people who should be together, who are brought back together, right? Who were once enemies, but they're now friends. Why? Why is it our duty? Because we carry the Spirit of Christ. The whole Bible is about reconciliation. It is about God. Even in the Old Testament, God constantly reconciling Israel back to him, and through the prophets and through the judges, trying to get them to get right. And then in the New Testament, he reconciles us through Christ, right? Pays the price for our sins. And now here, because we have accepted him as our Savior, we are ministers of reconciliation. Meaning that if we are of Christ, we should never be of the mindset to cut people off. Because we know what it's like to be forgiven. Come on, somebody in here. I know this ain't popular. But reconciliation is an expression of God. And if we are to be of God, now listen, I hear what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying you don't have a human moment. I'm not saying you don't ever get angry. I ain't saying that. But when you get over yourself, when you come to the end of yourself, You cannot, this is tweetable, Facebook postable, Instagrammable. You must not allow the offense to become your Lord. I'm not saying you don't acknowledge it. I'm not saying it isn't justifiable or validated. It's not your Lord. It is not what you identify with. You come back to who you are in Christ. Yeah. Because listen what he says to do to enemies. But I say unto you, Matthew 5:44, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. If he wants you to do that to enemies, what do you think he wants you to do with your brother or sister that you don't see eye to eye with? Even if you consider them the enemy. See, it's all too easy to cling to the offense. And when we cling to the offense, we reject the heart of God. And now our hearts become hardened. And we reject the counsel of God. We reject the conviction of the Holy Spirit. You know, the Holy Spirit didn't told you to call him. But instead of a heart that reconciles, you have when you full of yourself, you have a heart that alienates. No, I ain't talking to them. No, I ain't calling them. Forget them. No, I ain't got nothing to say to them. No. At some point, now there's room for assumption. Now there's room for festering and gossip. Now there's room for too much he say and she say. Now the enemy got a nice little situation he can work with now. Oh yeah, they done did most of the work for us, guys. Let's send in a little more agitation. Let's send in a little more reinforcement, and we can get this family broken up. We can get this church broken up. The enemy over there just cleaning his rifle. We shooting ourselves. It's our responsibility to forgive, to reconcile. I wish we had a little more what Esau and Jacob did to have that moment. But you know, sometimes, y'all, it ain't even that deep. Sometimes it's just a nice, quick adult conversation. If, you know, people are acting right. One apologizing and one accepting the apology. We must not allow the offense to become Lord of our lives. Look at, let's turn to Matthew real quick. Matthew 18:15. Matthew 18:15. And I'm not going to read all of it because I know y'all familiar with the passage of scripture, but I just want to look at the 15th verse. You know, this is scripture. You know, if thy brother offend thee, go talk to him. If he don't hear it, take it to 2 or more witnesses. And then if they don't hear the witnesses, take them to the church. But I just want to look at verse 15 real quick. And it says in Matthew 18:15, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. Notice who's supposed to initiate the process of reconciliation. The one who was offended. And then it's a believer. Because he says, if thy brother, meaning you don't wait and let that thing fester and go from, we ain't talked in 6 months to 2 years to 6 years to 20 years. No, you go and talk to him right away and say, hey man, we got to get this right. We got to get this right, man. Let's talk. What we got to do to come to an understanding. Oh, it's quiet in here. Lord Jesus. But it's good. I know I'm teaching good. We're going after, it's time for the Family Strong Conference. We're going after what the enemy is tearing down. And if we don't get it internally, then we can't do nothing externally. We got to be the example to somebody else, to show them how to love when love is hard. When love is not an emotion no more, it's a decision. Help me, Holy Ghost. God desires for us to go after our brother, go after our sister, go after those who have offended us and have an adult conversation and say, listen, let's talk this thing out. And they embrace 20 years of hatred, 20 years of uncertainty, 20 years of not talking. Here they fall on each other, and he bows down and he worships his older brother, and he kisses his younger brother. Something has been repaired that was broken. Verse 5 says, and he lifted his eyes and saw the women. This Esau. He saw the women and the children and said, well, who are those with thee? And he said, the children which God hath graciously given thy servant. And then the handmaids came near and their children, and they bowed. Leah also with her children came near, and she bowed. And after came Joseph near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. They bowed themselves. And he said, verse 8, what meanest thou? It's getting to my second point. What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? So before, I didn't read it, but before Jacob was getting close to Esau, he was sending, goats, and he was sending rams, like 200. He was trying to sweeten up the situation. He's trying to do everything to avoid being killed by Esau, because one thing you do remember, Esau could kill. You got to remember that Esau, a hunter. He says here, what is meant by this? And he said, these are to find grace in the sight of my who? Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, nay, I pray thee now, if I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. Second point. This is for the Jacobs. Take responsibility for your wrong. Because ain't nothing more frustrating than a person who can't admit that they did something wrong. It's difficult to reconcile with somebody saying, I didn't do nothing. Wait, now listen, I ain't crazy. Well, we can't get nowhere. This is as far as we gonna go. You gotta confess. And so Jacob was sending these gifts because he says, listen, my Lord, and he's gonna call him Lord for the rest of this chapter. Why? He said, I can't change what I did to you, but I'm gonna honor what I took from you. I respect Jacob for that. I respect Jacob from that. He was somebody that knew he wronged his brother. He owned up to it, And he said, listen, the only way that this reconciliation is going to be real, you got to take these gifts. And he urged them. And he took the gifts, right? Matthew 5:23. Go to Matthew 5:23. Matthew 5:23. This is for the Jacobs. And, I know y'all want to be Jesus Jr., but, we done wronged somebody. Did something you weren't supposed to do. You ain't that perfect. But look at Matthew 5:23 and 24. It says, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave thy gift before the altar, go thy way, first be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Jesus said, listen, if you done did something wrong to somebody, how can you worship me? And you done wronged my child. No. Hold up on that. Go handle that first. Go talk to them first, and then come back and give me your offering. Give me your worship. Because it just don't mix that you're out here treating people wrong, but then you want to give me, oh, Lord, I love you. No, you don't, because how can you say you love me who you haven't seen and not love your brother who you see every day? This ain't that. Jesus said the math ain't mathing. It ain't adding up. Go and talk to them. But I have something that I want to share. That I want to share that blessed me. It could be a reach, but I don't think it is, Pastor. So don't call me to the council right away. But I don't think it's a reach. Like I said, we don't have dialogue of their thought processes and what was said to get to this kiss and this hug and this bowing. But one thing we do have is in Genesis 32, Jacob wrestled with God. Y'all remember that passage, right? Pretty familiar. Remember, he wrestled with God to the point, and it was a pre-incarnate existence of Jesus Christ, meaning Christ showed up in some form of a man and wrestled with Jacob. And there it looked like Jacob was about to prevail, and he touched the hollow of his hip and dislocated it. Y'all remember that, right? It was nighttime. He was alone, and he wrestled. Jacob, the deceiver, wrestled until day. And he said, listen, I won't let go until you bless me. Holding on to this angel of the Lord that was wrestling with Jacob. And then God said, well, what is your name? Now, of course, Christ knows his name. But why is he asking him? Jacob needs to confess that I was a trickster. That I was a deceiver. He says, my name is Jacob. He said, no, not no more. From this day, your name shall be Israel. And he changes his name. Israel, one of the meanings of Israel means governed by God. So he's not out here acting independent of God. Now he is governed by God. Well, Pastor Early, why do you bring that up? Because I don't believe God changed this situation. I believe he changed Jacob. And sometimes reconciliation don't happen until you allow God to change what's on the inside. Oh, you got to allow God to change you and govern you, right? Because if you don't change, you can reconcile, but then you're going to do the same thing again because it's in your character. And I believe that when Esau saw him, even though it was 20 years since the last time he seen him, I think Esau saw something that had changed in his younger brother. The Lord, recognized him as Lord, the gifts that he brought to his brother, the bowing down. He said, no, there's something that's changed in you. Because Esau didn't meet Jacob, he met Israel. He didn't meet Jacob. 20 years ago, he met Jacob. That day, he met Israel. He met a man that was changed. Now, this is what I got to say in defense of the Jacobs. When they are trying to change, don't keep holding them to their past. At some point, especially if I'm talking to a believer that's dealing with a believer, at some point you got to take off your fleshly eyes and see what God sees in them in spite of how they wronged you, in spite of what they did. And say, I know God gonna deliver you. I know God gonna set you free. Don't antagonize them and chain them to their mistakes. Didn't Jesus set you free while you were yet sinners? He died for you. Don't kick them while they're down. Encourage them while they're down. Oh, I know this is crazy love, but isn't his love crazy? Isn't it mind-blowing? Don't it just mess you up? That's the type of love we got to have for those who offend us. And there's some Jacobs that are wrestling and trying to change. There's some Esau's that keep holding them to their past. You got to let that thing go. Somebody shout back, let it go. One of the reasons why you got to let it go so you can be free. You got to forgive them so that you can be free. So now y'all can sit in a room and actually talk. Now y'all can have a relationship. Now when their name came up, you ain't got to roll your eyes. Is Judah coming to the cookout? He took my chocolate chip cookie. I ain't coming. No, let it go. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what Christ would do. I'm just sitting here thinking for a minute, and this ain't got nothing to do with my notes, but I'm just thinking, it still baffles my mind to this day that Jesus covered Judas at that table. All he had to do was mumble who it was. Judas would have lost his life because Peter would have cut him up. Peter would have been like, Judas would have been over there in 3 pieces, filleted, sauteed. But Jesus, knowing who it was that was going to betray him, he said, go and do what you're supposed to do. And they like, who? He covered them. Let me wrap this up. And so as we get to the end of this text, verse 12, look at verse 12 as I close. It says here, and he said, let us take, now this is Esau talking, let us take our journey and let us go, and I will go before thee. He said unto him, my Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with the young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant. Look at that honor. And I will lead on softly according as the cattle that goeth before me, and the children be able to endure until I come unto my Lord unto Seir. And Esau said, well, let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. He said, basically like, I want to leave some security with you. He said, what needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir. My last point is that true reconciliation gets things back on track. Now they don't have to act like a family. They were a family. Now what was broken was repaired. They could do what was supposed to happen amongst them, which was help one another, be there for one another, care for one another. When you ain't feeling somebody, you don't care if they fall down and break their neck. You be like, sucks to be you. Y'all can pray. Hey, ain't that your brother? Was. But Esau suggested that they travel together. Esau suggested that he leave security with them. What does that show? That, and this is true of us even today that are hurting, underneath the pain, Esau still cared. Underneath the offense, he still loved Jacob. He just needed an apology so that what was there, come on, and he could now love his brother freely. He didn't want to kill him. He wanted to love him. But he couldn't deny the fact that he was hurt by what his brother did. And so reconciliation, now we can have Christmas dinner. Gets things back on track. Now you can come to my daughter's birthday party. Now you can come to my son's graduation. Now you get the first invite. Now I'm your prayer partner. Now I'm your Bible study partner. Now we can get things back on track. And then now that we have restored, we can go get the rest of our family. Because they know we didn't like each other. And when they see us walking together, they know it's God. Help me in here. Now if Judah and Joey can come together, then surely Danny and Dave can come together. Let it be a testimony to the rest of the family that with God, all things are possible. Come on, somebody. And that's just what I want to leave y'all with as I close this morning, that no matter how bad the relationship is, no matter how broken the relationship is, with God, not by yourself, not your intellect, not your wisdom, but with God, reconciliation is possible. With God, forgiveness is possible. And I just want to have crazy faith and believe that somebody today will even make that call And reconciliation can start today, which is June 2nd. And I just want to encourage some of those who have possibly offended somebody, and you can't control their response. Come on. If they don't receive your apology, then I'll be here when you're ready. And watch God move in a mighty way. And maybe somebody on the live feed today, that you understand that there's some things that need to be repaired, some relationships that were broken. Now, I want to encourage, as you tapped in from wherever you are, that with God, reconciliation and forgiveness is possible. There may be somebody on the live feed who doesn't know Christ. You don't know this possibility that I'm speaking of, this Jesus that I'm speaking of. So I want to encourage you today to accept Christ as your personal Savior. Accept Him in your heart, right? And if you need to, introduce Him to your family. Because I'm here to tell you, He is a restorer. He is a heart mender. He is a mind regulator. He can do miracles seen and unseen. You just got to walk with Him. You got to talk with Him. You've got to trust Him. And so I want you to repeat after me and say, Lord Jesus, I've sinned, but I believe that Jesus died for my sins. And I believe that God raised Jesus from the dead. So come into my heart and fulfill your purpose in me. Come on, let's give God a hand clap of praise.